Somewhere in a driveway in Ohio right now, there is a $70,000 electric SUV that hasn't moved in 3 weeks. Not because it's broken, not because the owner doesn't want to drive it. It's sitting there because the company that made it doesn't exist anymore, and neither does the app that unlocks the doors. That's not a horror story I made up to get your attention. That actually happened, and it's happening to more EV owners across America than the car companies want you to know about. Today, I'm going to walk you through 8 electric vehicles that people are publicly, loudly, sometimes tearfully regretting buying in 2026. Some of these cars you've heard of. One of them you probably see in your neighbor's driveway right now. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly which red flags to look for before you sign anything. Because number 4 on this list involves a truck that Tesla itself had to quietly extend an 8-year warranty on. And I don't think you've heard why. Stick around, because number 1 is the story that made me want to make this video in the first place. Let's get into it. Before we start naming names, I want you to understand something important. This isn't an EVs are bad video. Electric cars can be genuinely great. But 2026 has been a brutal reality check for a lot of buyers who got seduced by slick marketing, government incentives, and that new car smell excitement, only to find out 3, 6, 12 months later that they'd bought into a nightmare. Consumer Reports' latest owner satisfaction data shows something striking. A huge chunk of the least satisfying vehicles on the market right now are electric or plug-in hybrid models. We're talking about cars where fewer than 4 out of 10 owners say they'd buy the same vehicle again. Think about that. If you flipped a coin, you'd have better odds of being happy with your purchase than some of these owners did. So here's how this is going to work. We're counting down from 8 to 1, and I'm saving the 2 most dramatic stories for the end. Number 1 in particular is going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about future-proof cars. Let's start the countdown. This is the car that basically invented the mainstream EV, and it might also be the car that quietly killed a lot of people's trust in them. The Nissan Leaf was one of the first affordable electric cars most Americans could actually buy. Starting around $30,000, it looked like a no-brainer entry point into EV ownership. Here's the problem. Owners have consistently complained that the Leaf's real-world driving range falls well short of what the window sticker promises, especially once winter hits. And unlike most competitors, the Leaf uses a different fast-charging port that a lot of modern public charging networks don't fully support. Multiple owners report the battery degrading faster than expected, meaning the range problem gets worse every year you own it, not better. But get this, the Leaf isn't even the most disappointing budget EV on this list, because at number 7, we've got a car that GM discontinued, brought back, and owners are already begging them to reconsider. GM killed this car and just announced it's bringing it back for 2027. But ask owners of the outgoing model how they feel about it first, and you'll understand why some people think that's a risky bet. The Chevrolet Bolt EV was supposed to be the everyman's EV. Affordable, practical, efficient. And to be fair, a lot of owners genuinely like the value it offers on paper. But dig into the complaints, and a pattern shows up fast. Owners describe cramped cargo space, a stiff and uncomfortable ride on anything but smooth pavement, and this is the big one, charging speeds that feel like they belong in a different decade. Then there's reliability. Owners have reported malfunctioning technology systems and issues with the actual propulsion system, the thing that makes the car go. And getting those issues fixed? Multiple owners describe it as an overwhelming hassle, bouncing between dealerships that don't have parts or answers. And that's the uncomfortable part. GM discontinued the Bolt after the 2023 model year, essentially admitting something needed to change, and is bringing it back for 2027, which means every one of those old complaints is now a preview of what new buyers might be signing up for. Whether that changes remains to be seen. That kind of fix-it-later pattern doesn't stop with GM's budget option either, because at number 6, the badge on the hood costs a lot more, and the disappointment cuts even deeper. When you're paying nearly $60,000 for 4 rings on the hood, you expect to feel like you got something special. A lot of these owners say they didn't. The Audi Q4 e-tron sits in that premium EV space, priced anywhere from about $50,000 to $59,000. That's real money, the kind of price tag that comes with real expectations. And according to Consumer Reports' latest satisfaction data, only about 39% of Q4 e-tron owners say they'd buy it again. Why? Owners consistently point to a stiff, uncomfortable ride quality that doesn't match the luxury price tag, charging speeds that lag behind rivals in the same class, and an interior that a lot of buyers describe as underwhelming for the money. What makes this one sting extra is that buyers specifically say they don't feel like they're getting the value for the price. It's not that the car is broken, it's that it doesn't feel like it earned the badge on the hood. And speaking of badges that come with sky-high expectations, number 5 takes us into the world of stainless steel and social media hype. And the reality has been messier than the marketing led on. This is the vehicle everyone lined up to reserve years in advance. The Cybertruck launched with more hype than almost any vehicle in recent memory. Let's talk build quality first. Owners consistently report panel gaps, misaligned doors, inconsistent stainless steel finishes, and rattles. Then there's the software. Phantom collision warnings going off for no reason, infotainment freezes, inconsistent driver assist behavior that can be smooth 1 mile and jumpy the next. And the giant single windshield wiper? It's had its own recall history, with owners reporting streaking and failures in heavy rain, which, if you think about it for 2 seconds, is a genuine safety concern, not just an annoyance. But this is the part that should really get your attention. Tesla recently had to extend the warranty on the Cybertruck's power conversion system, the component that manages charging and electrical power, out to 8 years or 150,000 miles. Why would a company do that unprompted? Because owners were reporting PCS failures that knocked out normal charging entirely, with some repair bills reportedly running north of $7,000. One owner spent 50 days total, 40 of them consecutive, trying to get Tesla to fix a persistent squeaking noise. Parts replaced, insulation added, multiple approaches tried, still squeaking. That owner eventually asked for a buyback. If the most talked about electric vehicle in America is generating stories like that, you have to ask, what's happening with the vehicles nobody's talking about? That question leads us straight into number 4, and honestly, this one might be the most avoidable regret on this entire list. This car came from a brand new automaker most Americans had never heard of before, 2023, and reviewers say the driving experience makes that inexperience painfully obvious. VinFast is a Vietnamese automaker that entered the U.S. market with big ambitions in the VF8 as one of its flagship electric SUVs. Reviewers have criticized the VF8 for poor build quality, the kind of fit and finish issues that suggest a company still figuring out how to mass-produce a reliable vehicle. Beyond that, owners and critics point to weak handling and inconsistent driving dynamics, meaning the car doesn't feel planted or predictable the way you'd want a family SUV to feel, especially in poor weather or emergency maneuvers. When you're buying from an established company like Ford, Chevy, or Hyundai, you're paying for decades of engineering experience baked into every bolt. When you buy from a brand that's only been selling cars in America for a couple of years, you're essentially volunteering to be part of their learning curve. Some early VinFast buyers are learning that lesson the hard way at full retail price. Now, going from a brand new company still finding its footing to one of the most established car manufacturers in America might make you think things get safer at number 3. They don't, because sometimes the biggest disappointments come from the companies that should absolutely know better. GM actually stopped selling this car to fix it after it was already on dealer lots. Think about how bad something has to be for a manufacturer to hit pause mid-launch. The Chevrolet Blazer EV was supposed to be GM's answer to a mid-size electric SUV that could compete head-on with Tesla and the rest of the field. Then the software problems hit. Early buyers and reviewers ran into infotainment systems that froze or wouldn't respond, charging issues where the vehicle simply refused to charge properly, and inconsistent range readouts that left drivers unsure how far they could actually go before running out of power. It got serious enough that GM took the unusual step of pausing sales of the Blazer EV shortly after launch specifically to address these software issues before letting more units go out the door. Now, to be fair to GM, pausing sales to fix a problem is better than ignoring it. But if you were one of the early buyers who got a car before that pause, you were essentially a beta tester for a $50,000 plus software product. Except this software controls a 2-ton vehicle you're driving your kids around in. That will fix it after you've already paid for it. Pattern isn't limited to one brand either. Up next at number 2, a vehicle from one of the most trusted names in American vehicles, and a recall that should make you pause before you buy one used. Imagine buying an electric SUV, driving down the highway, and having it just lose power. That's not a hypothetical, that's a documented recall. The Ford Mustang Mach-E borrowed one of America's most beloved nameplates and slapped it on an electric SUV, betting that the Mustang name alone would build instant trust. But underneath that trusted badge, Ford issued recalls tied to a high-voltage battery contactor problem that could cause a loss of motive power while driving, meaning the vehicle could suddenly stop accelerating on the road. This isn't a check engine light kind of problem. It's a my car just went dead in the middle of traffic kind of problem. Ford rolled out software updates and repairs to address it, but for owners who experienced it before the fix, that's the kind of moment that permanently changes how much you trust a vehicle. And this is the part that should really worry you if you're shopping used. A used EV with an unresolved recall, sold by a private seller who either doesn't know or doesn't mention it, is one of the easiest ways to inherit somebody else's nightmare. Always check the VIN against NHTSA's recall database before you buy any used EV, full stop. And now, number 1. The story I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, the one about the car that isn't broken but might as well be, because the company behind it doesn't exist anymore. This is the single greatest cautionary tale in the entire EV industry right now, and thousands of Americans are living inside it. The Fisker Ocean launched with real promise. Attractive design, genuinely impressive hardware according to early reviews, and a starting price around $60,000, climbing past $70,000 and even $80,000 for higher trims. Buyers who put down real money believed they were investing in the future. Then it fell apart, fast. Fisker filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June 2024, barely a year after the Ocean hit the road. Bankruptcy filings revealed the company owed north of $1 billion. Out of everything Fisker had promised to build, the company delivered roughly 11,000 Oceans before running out of cash entirely. Here's where it gets genuinely painful for owners. Before the bankruptcy even hit, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had already opened 4 separate investigations into the Ocean, including one over a braking malfunction. Owners were already dealing with software glitches, drained batteries, and malfunctioning key fobs before the company collapsed. Then after bankruptcy, things got worse, not better. Owners lost remote connectivity to their vehicles entirely after a dispute between the company that inherited Fisker's cloud services and an owners association trying to protect them. Streaming, remote access, traffic updates, over-the-air software fixes, all of it gone. The cars still physically drive and charge, but every smart feature that justified the premium price tag simply stopped working, with no company left to answer the phone. One owner in the Cincinnati area had a dozen unresolved service tickets sitting open with nobody to call. Another owner in Colorado couldn't find a single repair shop willing to fix a crack running across the vehicle's solar roof. One owner described their $70,000 Ocean as, and I'm going to use their own words here, the worst financial decision I ever made. But then something happened that makes this story almost unbelievable. Some owners refused to just accept defeat. They formed something called the Fisker Owners Association, a nonprofit that essentially reverse-engineered the car's own software from scratch just to keep their vehicles functional. They organized bulk parts purchases, negotiated replacement key fobs down from around $1,000 each, and even built a volunteer repair network of technically skilled owners who traveled to fix other owners' cars for free, because no dealership network exists anymore to do it for them. Think about that for a second. These are everyday Americans who spend up to $80,000 on a car, only to end up building their own underground repair company just to keep driving it. And Fisker isn't even alone. Other EV startups, Nikola, Canoe, Arrival, have gone through similar collapses, leaving owners in comparable binds. So if there's one lesson buried in this entire list, it might be this. An electric car is only as good as the company standing behind it 5 years from now. A beautiful design and a big battery pack mean nothing if the company that built it isn't around to support it. So there you have it, 8 electric vehicles that real American owners are regretting right now. In 2026, from range anxiety and charging headaches, all the way up to a company that vanished and left its customers to fend for themselves. But here's what I really want to know from you, because I read every single comment on these videos. If you currently own one of these 8 cars, did you experience any of what I just described? Or has your experience actually been completely different from what the reviews say? I want to hear the real story, not just the internet's version of it. And if you were considering buying one of these vehicles before watching this, has this changed your mind? Or are you still going through with it? Because I know some of you are going to tell me I'm wrong about at least one of these. And honestly, I want to hear that too. Drop it in the comments. Tell me which one shocked you the most, and tell me if I missed a car that belongs on this list. Because trust me, based on what I found researching this, there could easily be a part 2. If this video helped you avoid making an expensive mistake, do me a favor and hit subscribe. Because next week I'm covering the flip side of this list. The EVs that owners say they'd buy again in a heartbeat. You're not going to want to miss that comparison. See you in the next one.